Right, so making this design into a plastic object, first of all you need to output it as what they call an STL file. We've finished with this bit of software. I can now bring the other bit of software up, and so I'll close that. And this rectangle here is representing the build plate on the 3D printer. And what you do is you bring in this STL file now, and so we'll add some supports. So there's, you do that by this add support button here, and you can rotate the thing over, and you can zoom in to where you're trying to actually do things quite nicely. So I want to put a ring of dots, which will be supports in the plastic about every millimetre, all the way around the base of this. They don't have to be exactly right, and you can see the angle will change very, very slightly. But I know, having done this now a few times on chimneys, that you need this amount of support to get the definition of the curve at the bottom. And if you don't put this in, if you just accept the ones that they've got there to start off with, it falls off or it doesn't print properly. So I do this. It takes very, very little time, as you can see. Excuse me a minute. I'm just going to hydrate because I'm getting a bit dry. Right, and you can see I'm putting the supports all the way around the bottom. And I'm also going to put a little bit further down, put a ring of about 10 or so, just to sort of help it anchor itself. Now there's sort of 9 or 10 there. If I swing that round now, you can see those. This is the raft, this thick thing at the bottom, and you can see I've got some shaped parts supporting the whole of that. Now I also know that this part here that sticks out might fall off, so it doesn't need many, but it needs some support up there. So you can click up, and anywhere where you get this green part here, you can click and it will put the support in. Now that's in the wrong place, so you can, again, you can delete them. Right, and I want them around the very, very rim. Now there's one there about 120 degrees. I'll just put 3 in, sort of there, swing it round, one about there. There we go. So, and that's about it. What you then do is what we call slice. So this now chops this across horizontally into layers that are 0.03 of a millimetre thick, right the way up its height and all the rest of it, and it's those that are then fed to the 3D printer. So it's got 1062 layers. So it takes 4 hours and 10 minutes to actually print, and that's saved. I now save that onto a USB stick and take it over to the printer. This is the 3D printer. It's an Elegoo Mars Pro, P meaning Pro. I've transferred the design from the slicing software on the USB stick, this green thing that's sticking out the front of the machine, and I'll just talk you through this machine now. It has a cover that you take off when you're loading the machine, and this is the build plate. So this bit here, this is the size of the objects I can actually get printed. The biggest I've managed to do was a boiler unit, which just about was the full length that I can actually manage. but whatever it is you're printing gets stuck on here and it hangs upside down from this plate, which we call the build plate. Let's put that back in. This part down here is the resin vat. Here it's got, you can hear a sort of a drum type. It's got a film in the bottom called FEP film. It's like a Teflon material, very, very slippy. And you put the resin in this vat, and the vat sits on top of this liquid crystal display screen, which is about the same sort of thing as you've got on your mobile phone, if you've got one. Control panels on the front. I'll switch things on and do this in a moment. I'll just put that there a minute. So I'll switch it on. Unfortunately, the switch is round the back, which is very inconvenient, but there we go. A phone starts up. There's a filter at the back here, and there's a gasket running down around the bottom of this cover, so that any fumes that are produced, and that's very, very little, gets absorbed by the filter, which I think is activated charcoal or something like that in there. I'll just show you this part here, where I need to go to the toolkit, and I'll press the thing called Tank Clean, and he says, there we go, and I'm just going to press next, and this is actually going to give you a clear screen. So all this screen that is the mask, if you like, at the moment is showing clear, and you might just be able to see, if I actually just hold this and move it over, you can see that there's ultraviolet light emitting from some diodes and stuff underneath there at the minute. So I'll just put this back down again and turn that bit off. Don't need that anymore. So the screen here is fed with the designs that have been set up and put into this printer via the USB stick. And what we're going to print is the chimney here. There it is, that's what you've seen already. And when I press the go button, this will start going down. I need to have put this back in place first, which I'm just about to do now. And it fits in nicely. You screw it down so it doesn't move. So it's got a transparent film shake up, and this is ABS-like photopolymer resin. I'll just give that a few shakes just to mix in all of the colorizing parts of the resin. There we go. And then you pour that in. You can see there's a max sign maybe, or maybe my arm's in the way, I don't know whether you can see that or not. But that's enough resin for this job. Put that on, stick it under a bench out of the daylight because it is UV sensitive. So that's me set up, ready to go. All I do now is press the button, and the build plate, you can see, is starting to move down, and this is where you then find you're standing, or I'm not going to run this continually. This will take, was it 4 hours, and it's telling me something down here, but it will do in a minute. It's just over 4 hours, I think it is, to print that chimney, a resolution of 0.03 millimeters per layer. And I've already discussed that when we were doing the slicing software, so I'm not going to repeat all that again. So you can see this is going down into the vat of liquid resin, keeps going until it almost touches the FEP film at the bottom, and then it rises a little bit, then it goes back down, and then on here you can see a shape suddenly appeared, and that's the clear part now of the LCD screen underneath the FEP film, underneath the resin, and it's allowing the ultraviolet light to protrude through that shape and set itself onto the bottom of the build plate. And it'll do that on each of the layers that have been created through the slicing software for the next 4 hours and 10 minutes. Now, we always do this with the cover on, because especially on a bright sunny day, not that it's particularly bright and sunny at the moment, but on a bright sunny day, the natural ultraviolet light from the sun will cure the resin in that vat. So we don't want that to happen, and this red cover cuts out that ultraviolet light. So we'll come back to this probably 3 or 4 times during the printing process. And as I say, at the moment we're on 1%, and I'll set a timer to remind me to come back to it every hour. And I'll say then we'll get four shots of it going through the actual process. But in fact, I'll just do a little bit more, just to sort of see if you can help you understand a little bit more. I'll say this is actually printing the raft at the bottom at the moment. Remember, there's 5 or 6 layers of that. I can't remember which I've programmed in now. So it's just gone out. This part will now lift and then go back down again. The reason it lifts is to allow fresh resin to go underneath the part that's been cured, if you like, on the bottom of the build plate. And it'll keep doing that, as I say, for the next 4 hours, rising up between each of the slices, 0.03 of a millimetre each time. As I say, I'll come back to that later, so I'll switch you off now. Okay, I've just had my alarm go off to tell me that an hour has elapsed. So I've got 3 hours and 31 minutes, and it's been going for an hour and 11 minutes, according to this. Oh, right, maybe the timing's not quite right on my alarm clock thing. No, I think it was Alexa that gave me that. Anyway, I'm just going to take this off and show you. You can see there's a bar going across here that's actually about, what is it, 24% finished. So that's about right. And I'll just take this off for a moment so you can see what's going on. I can assure you, you're not going to see very much at all at this stage. This is still going up and down. The build plate almost comes out the resin this time, but you can also see we're just on the barrel, by the look of it, of the chimney, and each time that lifts up and then goes back down again. So it's now in position, the lights come on, the mask is a circle with 3 dots. The 3 dots are those supports I put in to hold the cap of the chimney so it doesn't fall off properly. Anyway, that's not really seeing very much at all, is it? Let's come back in an hour and see what else has happened. Bye for now. Okay, we're another hour in. We are now at 94% complete. Let's take that off and have a look, see what we can see. Still doing the barrel. You can see there is actually I think it's doing part of the cap now. And if I get down here, I can actually see some of that now as well. So let's see if I can actually can I zoom you in to see that? Let's see if I can zoom this. Yep, right. So, can you see anything underneath there? You're looking in this bit here, and you can just about make out the shape. If I see if I can shine a light from the phone, just as it bobs up, so see if you can actually see anything. there's my phone, just trying to show. You can just about make out something there, but you'll see it more in a few minutes. So according to this, I'm having to get close because it's quite small writing. Another 13 minutes to go. So I'll pop the top back on, zoom back out. Well, I better zoom back out first. Then I'll pop the top back on, and I'll let the last few minutes run. So, and then you can see how this thing stops. So I'll stop for now, and then come back in about 8.5 minutes and see how we get on. Okay, here we are, about 2 minutes from the end or something. I'll just finish it off without the cover on so you can see what's going on a bit more. You can see as this comes up now, it's quite a long way above the actual surface of the vat, and you might just be able to see under there, between that just coming out of the vat, you might just be able to see that there is a object in there in the shadows, unfortunately. But as this carries on now, it's got we're on 99%. It's saying 2 minutes, so I'm just going to let it run, going up and down, and you can see down here it's just literally finishing with circles, in that we're now above the part of the cap where the 3 extra supports were on that I put on there, and so it's just finishing things off, and that circle will get thinner and thinner and thinner because this is where I tapered in the final part. So it's just got a few more to go. Can I read that number at all? This is 1061 out of 1062, so it's coming up for, and then it's going to go down for the last time, and it should go to 100% after this one. That's it. And now what happens is, you can see it doesn't go back down again, but it actually keeps going up, and you'll be able to start to see the chimney hanging down underneath it. And so it rises up until it's up to about this height at the back, which incidentally is about the full height of the thing that can actually be printed, about 180 millimeters or something. Now, when it gets to this position, you'll see a change on the screen under the bottom there. Now it says printing done, and it tells you 4 hours and 12 minutes. So press that, that stops it. I'm just going to turn the thing off. And now what I tend to do is this device here, which just angles the build plate for about a few minutes while it just drains off any excess resin back into the vat. So I'll take that off, holding it over the vat. There's the chimney, you can see it quite well, but you can also see all this excess stuff. So you just hook that on over the actual vat and let it drain. So and you can see a few drips now going in there. So I'll turn off now and come back in a few minutes, and we'll start doing the next process. Okay, I've let it drain for about, I suppose about 5 minutes now, and you can see the vast majority of that is actually gone. So take that bit off, nothing moving on that. So I'm just going to switch you off again, and I shall be moving around to the other side of the workshop where I've set up the cleaning stuff. Right, this is the Elegoo Wash and Cure. The yellow box this time stops the curing lights affecting you, and they're not needed for this bit, the first bit. Basically we have a tank here with a watertight or an airtight seal on it, and in there at the moment I've got IPA, so the isopropyl alcohol, and you can see I've got about 150 millilitres in there at the moment. This just sits on here, and you switch things on at the back, and there are two modes. That thing there is a light. If I switch modes, not quite sure what that's doing there. Let me just turn it, stop it there a second. Right, let me get the other part sorted. So here is the chimney. You can see it now on the build plate, and you attach the build plate to this part this time, and this clips on, and you drop the whole thing, well, not drop it, but lower it, there we go, into the isopropyl alcohol, and we're going to start washing this. Now I think that beeping meant I do actually have to put this top on, probably a safety feature. Yes, in fact there's a sensor at the back, I hadn't realised, because I only got this yesterday, so this is only the second time I've used it. So now I'm on. Now I need to change the mode from the light, there we go, to the wash. And what this is going to do is, in there is an impeller, and when I give it 30 seconds and I press go, it starts up, it swirls, as you can see, the IPA, so it's cleaning not only the build plate but the actual thing that's stuck on it as well, and halfway through the time it reverses direction. Seems to make a bit of a noise, doesn't it? But there we go. So it's cleaning and rinsing off all the excess resin and stuff. I'll give it another couple of minutes actually. There's 2 minutes, so we can see what happens now. So it's twirling round, setting up quite a vortex in the bottom of it. I haven't actually seen that bit before. And as you can see, it's swirling this alcohol across everything, and I'm told it's very, very effective at cleaning all of the excess resin off of the actual object you're trying to actually make. And it will continue to do that, as I say, for another, oh my goodness, another minute or two. So I'll just pause you and then call you back again with about 10 seconds to finish. Okay, you're back. There's 12 seconds left. It's going in the opposite direction to the way it was when I switched off or paused. So it'll stop any second. And there we go. So that's the wash completed. So now I'll swap things over and show you what's next. So this lid comes off again. Shove that over here out of the way, and this bit can now come off. I'll just let that drain the rest of the IPA back into the tub. You can see by the state that the actual build plate's in now, it's nice and clean, and I can see that the actual object is very nice and clean as well. So I'll just take that off of this bit. Don't need that bit anymore. So there's the actual build plate. So I'm just letting that, put that on this paper towel, and that will drain the rest of that stuff off. This bit now comes off, and I'll put the airtight top back on it. And this has been the most difficult thing, there we go, I've had to do so far. There's quite a lot of force needed to get that on. If your thing isn't staying on the build plate, you've got a sort of chip basket type thing that does the same thing. It just sort of sits in there, and the water, the IPA will swirl around everything inside that. But I left mine on the build plate, and now I'm going to take it off. So, excuse me a minute. Right, to do that, I've just literally got a plastic scraper, and there we go, it's off. So I'll just get another paper towel. I've got a supply of them, and we do use quite a few of them. So I'll just dry this, and I'm just going to go and put this back on the printer, which is behind us now. So, right, so that's back on the printer, and this just needs to air dry for a moment. I'll just help it a bit by blowing, and there's no more IPA on that, so that's good enough. And then you put this part on here, and there we go. No, quite that's on now, and you just put your object you're wanting to now cure, because in these are LEDs at the back there with UV light, and so you put this on this time to stop the UV light affecting you. Switch modes to the light, and that needs a couple of minutes, maybe 3 actually. So I'll just start that off. I'll turn you off in a minute and pause you, but you can see the lights are on, and the platform slowly turns. There are 2 slightly different LEDs, slightly different wavelengths, to ensure that the object gets fully cured. And I say that will go around for 3 minutes in total. That's at half a minute already, and you can see by the fact it's on a turntable, all sides of it will get cured by being exposed to the ultraviolet light coming off the LEDs. So that hardens the resin again, in that it's been hardened once in the printer, and then this sort of just finishes the thing off and changes the characteristic of it so that it becomes more like ABS. And it is, quite remarkable just how close to ABS it actually sort of feels, and works with tools and things like that. In the meantime, I can clean the machine, the printer, because the vat needs to have the excess resin poured back into the bottle. Here's the bottle again. So I can open that. And you have a paper filter with a nylon mesh, something like 10 microns or something. It's quite small. Poke the thing in like that. And I'm just getting the vat from the printer. Here we go. You can still see there's loads of resin left in it. So I'll just pour that lot back in through the filter into the bottle, and the filter's there just in case there is any parts that have been left in the actual in the vat, or if something's actually happened and the thing hasn't quite printed properly, which occasionally happens if you don't have enough supports, or sometimes it's to do with the temperature, things like that. All sorts of actual variables on this stuff, and gradually you learn how to do the various things. Right, you see that's now finished, and I'm still standing here now, letting this drain. So what I tend to do normally is help it along. So I'll just clean out that, and I'm going to press the stop button and get back to you when I've done all that. But you can see basically I'm just letting all that drain into there, and then what I do is I wipe it and put it back on the machine. No, that was supposed to stop you. I'll press again. Okay, a few minutes later I've cleared the wash and cure machine down. Need to change my glasses, and so I've now got this chimney. It's still got all the supports on, so what do we do about that? Well, you get a given set of these with the machine, and you just clip these off. I'm just leaving a very little bit on. I'll clean that off with a scalpel or something afterwards. These can actually just be broken off, and then you're left with the base, and sometimes there we are, you can just literally flex it very, very slightly, because the supports are so thin at the end where they actually touch the base. You can probably just about see they virtually go down to about 0.2 of a millimetre, so very, very thin, and they just pull away, and there's a tiny little bit left on there. But if I then trim these little bits I left on, you can see I've almost got a perfect chimney that's dry, it's cured, and it's looks very nice. If I bring it up a bit closer, you can see all the way through it. I'm not sure I showed you how to actually put the hole all the way through, and it's very, very smooth. The only place I can see any lines on it at all are right on the very, very top, where it's got that slight curve going in, and it's not very big, so that I can count 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it is 4 little rings on that, which are 0.03 millimeters per ring. Means there's not very much to it. This is the boiler unit and the smoke box unit that I printed prior to this. I've just chopped the chimney, and do I roll the chair across it? No, I've managed to pick it up without smashing it to smithereens. What I've actually done, let's just take the boiler bit off. So I've just got the smoke box and the front splashers. And as I was designing this, I intersected the base of this with this, so that with any luck it should fit in there virtually perfectly and be upright when it's actually in it. I probably need to just sort of clean the bottom of this up very, very, very slightly. I've got a file just handy. Yep, I've got a half round needle file, which I'm just going to run very gently over the base, because it's got a few little bits of support material still on it, and that feels a lot better. So hopefully that'll just say sit in there, and probably if I put a bit of blue tack on it or something like that. But you can see that the so you can see now that the shape fits the sides and the end profile of, you know, the radius and stuff of the smoke box perfectly. And when I've done a little bit more cleaning up, it'll sit in there, and I will have what I tried to start off designing, which was a chimney for Gladstone. So quite a lot's gone on there. I've taken you through from the beginning, looking at the source material, going through the 3D design, showing you how I transferred that into Chitubox, which is the slicing software, and then taking that file, putting it onto the 3D printer, and printing it, cleaning it, curing it, and just taking the supports off. And so I'm very pleased with that. Captures the look of the chimney very well. Maybe if I hold this up behind it, you can see the flares on it a little bit better. I'm very happy with that. So that's me done. I hope you've enjoyed this lot, and I'll see what else I can do sometime in the future. Thanks a lot. Ian MacCormac signing off.